All right. Great. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. We appreciate you letting us do this meeting virtually and setting up a special workshop for it. I hope each of you and your families are doing well and healthy. And kind of as part of that, to ensure that's why we're doing this meeting virtually here this evening. We have had some potential exposures in our office, and so we've eliminated all in-person meetings, both internally and externally, just out of precaution. We think it's safest and best. So again, thank you for letting us do it this way. Otherwise, we would love to be there for this important discussion. There's a lot to cover today, and I want to make sure we have enough time for Q&A at the end. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on COVID-19 this evening, except to make 2 points, because I think they're important. One is my team and I have provided some information related to our emergency operations plan to the city manager, other city staff, and also to some of the council previously. Just letting you know what we're doing, and really to tell you about the plan that's focused on 2 key priorities. One is the health and safety of our employees, so that they can continue providing the reliable service that we do there in the city of Maricopa. Obviously, that's important during a health pandemic. Got to keep the water flowing, keep the wastewater collected, handle it all safely. So the second part of the plan was to work with our customers to keep them safe. Excuse me. Keep them safe as well, but also to deal with any economic challenges that they're dealing with based on the pandemic. So all the measures remain in place at the moment, and the good news is I think they're going very well. So we're providing the high level of service you've grown to know and be accustomed to. Our employees are safe. We're dealing with our customers continuously. And so the good news is that there's really no news as it pertains to the essential services that we provide day in and day out there. So steady as we go on that front. But the second point I want to make is I know it's kind of state the obvious, but I think, again, it is important, is that the significance of the time and what we're going through right now is not really lost on me or our company. 2020 has been very challenging, to say the least, and certainly it has for you. And frankly, I don't envy your position, and we certainly don't want to be making it more difficult for you or our customers. However, is demonstrated by your leadership and that of your fantastic city manager, and all the ways that we interact and work together on lots of things in the community. We all understand that we have to keep moving forward and really go after the opportunities and keep business moving forward that exists there in the city of Maricopa as we continue to build this wonderful community together that's got so much opportunity. So it's with that recognition and that understanding, we're here to provide a preview on our rate case filing. It's a mandatory rate case filing. The required deadline is August 28th. So we are here over 30 days in advance to give you that preview, get any feedback, and answer any questions. So the agenda for today will be to give you a rate case backdrop and remind you of the rate case process itself. It has been over 6 years since the completion of our last rate case, which is hard to believe. Those years have gone quick for sure. But because of that, we think it's prudent to go ahead and spend some time reminding the council exactly how a rate case works. So we'll do that. We'll provide some historical context on some of the things related to the rate case, and we'll also discuss some improvements and changes that we've made as a company over that time since that last rate case. Then we will move and dive into the specifics of our rate case filing and show you some of the key assumptions or asks that we're putting in there. Not everything, obviously, we can't fit it all in today, but the highlights on important issues that we want to be fully transparent on with you and our customers. And then we'll show you ultimately the impacts that has directly on our customers. We have taken measures proactively to reduce the impact of this rate case on our customers, both from a totality perspective, but also from a timing perspective. So we'll show you how that all works and comes together and what we will be proposing. And then we'll wrap up with some key takeaways and again, get to that question and answer. So I think it's important to start with these 4 important highlights. So please note that the Arizona Corporation Commission has required Global Water to file this rate case. Look, there's just a lot going on in the regulated utility space on the water, power, gas front. And there's a lot going on at the Corporation Commission. And so even though it's never really happened much in the history of our state, what is starting to become a more commonplace is for the commission to call in large utilities, specifically Class A utilities on the water side, which is it has to do with size. So the large utilities, such as we have there in the city of Maricopa, because they just don't want large utilities to stay out for too long, and ultimately they thought that our 6 years was long enough. So, but it's not specific to Global Water. Again, they're pulling in lots of utilities today, and so we're just one of them. I will say that they first tried to have us come in over a year ago using a 2018 test year, it's called, and we just simply weren't ready, and we had not been planning to file a rate case. So we pushed back against that, and we brought the city into it. We worked with the city and the mayor, and you filed letters, talked to commissioners directly, and we were able to get about over a year delay on when this first actually started. So we were successful in that. We didn't know that year delay would then cause the timing to align with a health pandemic, and that's unfortunate. But here we are. Because of the pandemic, we did push and get another 60-day extension just recently. But the time's up. The required filing deadline is August 28th, and we'll be filing before that. But that said, as Joanne will walk you through, it's a long process. Typically, they take over a year for Class A utilities. So that would have any impact from this rate case not coming into effect until Q3 of 2021. But we went beyond that. We've actually are stipulating in our filing, it's important to note, that we're requesting that no rate increases that come out of this rate case to occur prior to January of 2022. So a full 17 months from now. Our hope is that helps the community, our customers, and all of us get a little bit further beyond this pandemic and the economic situation. And then finally, we will, of course, commit and have voluntarily committed to recognize the provision in the memorandum of understanding we have with the city of Maricopa, where regardless of whatever the rate case might be or rate increase might be, that we will not request more than 5% in any given year on our average customer. So that's another thing that will just be directly and specifically laid out in our rate case filing. So we'll be 17 months before the rate increase, and then from there it will be phased in accordance with that phase-in term. Before I hand it over to Joanne, actually, I'm going to go back to this slide for this. I just want to make a few more points. A lot has changed since our last rate case. It was really at that time when I took over kind of full responsibility for our regulated utilities as president of the regulated utilities, and it was during the last rate case filing, so about 2012. The first thing I did was work with all the stakeholders and interveners in that rate case to reach a settlement agreement that we did sign during the last rate case, and just try to reach consensus with all of those key parties on all the major elements. So one, it was important from our company and important for the rate case, but two, I really wanted to work to reestablish a good working relationship with all these stakeholders, and we've been focused on as a company ever since then. Oh, sorry, we're getting some feedback now. Is everybody getting that, or is that just me? Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so we've been focused on it since that rate case, and I think it has continued to improve, and that remains our commitment here today and moving forward. It's not lose sight of those key relationships. The second thing we did was we implemented some new core values. And over the years, the top core value we put in place as a company, which is really stuck and it remains our top core value today. And it applies to I think the way we're approaching this rate case, so it's worth highlighting here, is a concept, very simple, called, you say it like this: happy customers, happy employees, and happy shareholders. So I'm going to say it again: happy customers, happy employees, and happy shareholders. That's easy to say, but really hard to do. And it's almost impossible to do, obviously, on all fronts, as you guys understand. It's hard to make everybody happy. But it's a good concept. And practically what it means is, and what we've been doing is, for all major decisions, all strategy, all practices that we put in place as a company, we just simply look at it from all three lenses and try to find the balance where it works and will result in keeping all three groups happy. So if you can find that balance more often than not, then long term, that's how you can ensure your success, which obviously this is a long term thing when it comes to utilities and long term relationships. We're building for hundreds of years. So it's the right approach. I do think, sitting here today, that we have been able to materially and continuously move this company forward. And that's going to be kind of where I close before handing it over to get to the meat of the presentation. It's just basically request that if you can look at it from a fair perspective and analyze the kind of the situation that existed in the last rate case, the level of service that was provided, then the contents of that rate case, and compare it against where we are today as a company, the things we'll walk you through, and then the proposal we're making, that you can also agree that what we're laying out here is fair, reasonable, and appropriate. Okay, so that's our hope here for today. I will say the last thing we did is coming out of the Great Recession is rebuild our kind of our team. And not only did we just bring in some of the best in the industry with tremendous talent, we focused on bringing in people that share those core values and really have a passion and commitment to our industry and the communities we serve, such as the city of Maricopa. And I think we've had a lot of success on that as well. So with that, I'm now going to hand it over to two of them that have really worked tirelessly for our company and for the city of Maricopa over the years. And they're going to walk you through the rest. So with that, over to you, Joanne.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and City Council members. We appreciate the opportunity to present you this information tonight. I want to begin by doing a brief review of the rate case process and the timeline for a rate case. So to begin with, our utilities are regulated by the Arizona Corporation Commission, or the ACC, and the ACC has the power to prescribe just and reasonable rates that are charged by our utilities. The rate case is a detailed process, and it follows a specific calculation to determine the revenue requirement and the rates required to achieve the revenue requirement. So the basic formula is that you begin with the rate base for the capital that's been invested by the company to build the infrastructure necessary to provide service. You then multiply that by the allowed rate of return on rate base, which is a number that's ultimately determined by the Corporation Commission. And so rate base times the allowed rate of return gets you to your required return. To that, in the formula, you add operating expenses, which are items such as chemicals, power, employee costs, insurance, the typical costs of running a business, and the required return plus the operating expenses gives you your revenue requirement. The rate case takes place in basically three phases. So after we file, there's a period of sufficiency where the staff reviews our application to determine we've submitted all the information that's required. Next, the case runs into review by all the parties in the case. There's testimony filed. There are data requests that go back and forth, so everyone has enough information regarding our filing. That can take 180 days or more. And then ultimately, it goes to a hearing in front of an administrative law judge and finally to the Corporation Commission for a final decision. Again, at least 180 days for that third phase. A rate case can take approximately a year or more than a year. And what is fair and reasonable as in any particular rate case has and always will be open to debate. The Commission has to balance the customer's interest in affordable and reliable utility service with the utility's interest in earning a fair profit. And what the company submits is subject to a detailed audit and verification through this process. So how long has it been since our last rate case? Well, it's actually been 8 years since our last test year. So we got our last rate decision that came in 2014, and it was based on a 2011 test year. And in that case, as Ron mentioned, we were very fortunate that the city, Global Water, the homeowners associations, the Residential Utility Consumers Office, and others reached consensus on nearly every issue. And our intent is to do the same in this rate case. The rate case will be based on a 2019 test year, and that simply means that we look back to the financial information in 2019 to determine the rates moving forward. The schedule is that we're making this presentation to you tonight. By August the 28th, we must file the rate case application. We do not expect a decision until December of 2021 next year, and we are requesting that any change to rates not be implemented until January 1 of 2022. So with that background in mind, we want to review the company's investment and performance over the last few years, which informs what we'll be requesting in this rate case application. And for that, I'll turn it over to John.
All right. Thanks, Joanne. And good evening, Mayor Price, Vice Mayor Smith, and council members. As Ron talked about, since our last rate case, we have been hyper-focused on operational improvements and in increasing the customer experience. And so I just wanted to highlight a few of those elements tonight. First and foremost, safety of both of our employees and our customers is our number one priority on a day-to-day basis. On the employee front, we've had 2 minor safety accidents over the past approximately 3 years, and we'd actually gone over 1,000 days without any OSHA recordable injuries. And we've had 2 injuries, minor injuries in the past 2 months. But that's important. Obviously, the most important element of that is that we send our employees home safely to their families on a day-to-day basis. But a secondary benefit to that is that from a workman's comp insurance standpoint, having a strong and robust safety program helps us to reduce our workman's comp insurance cost. And ultimately, reduced expenses are a benefit to our customers in the form of rates. Second, and likewise on the compliance front, so the safety of our customers, serving safe and compliant water is also extremely important and a top priority on a day-to-day basis as well. We've gone over 4 years and 4 months since our last significant ADQ compliance event, and that was actually in a utility not in Maricopa. It's been over 5 years since our last compliance event in the city of Maricopa. And again, similar to the safety side, by reducing compliance events, again, you're ensuring the safety of our customers, and then the secondary benefit is reducing expenses, which is, again, is a benefit to the customer. Shifting to the customer service focus and the customer experience, again, we've been very focused on this over the past few years. We've seen increased customer satisfaction. And as the graph on the bottom right-hand side of the slide shows, we've seen decreasing customer complaints over the past few years. Those complaints are monitored through the ACC, the Better Business Bureau, Attorney General's office, various avenues such as that. And so, as you can see, we continue to trend down on that. We think a lot of that is due to the revamp of our customer portal and the tools that we offer our customers through that platform. So we relaunched our customer portal at the end of 2018, and we've seen significant usage of that portal. So we have over 66% of customers have registered to use the platform, which is really a very high rate of usage amongst utilities for a customer portal. For the software that we use, they provide services to over 150 utilities, and we're in the top 3 of those utilities in terms of our customers using that platform. So I think that says a lot about the customers and their engagement in their utility bills as well. Another tool that platform provides is proactive leak and high consumption alerts to homeowners. So if there's potentially unexpected usage on the homeowner's property, we can send them a proactive leak alert or notification so that they can troubleshoot that in real time. We sent out over 10,000 leak alerts in 2019, and we estimate that we saved about 8 million gallons of water for our customers. So that's obviously important from a conservation standpoint, but also important because that's unexpected usage that the customer may didn't consume and therefore didn't have to pay for. So a savings to the customer there. Another step that we took in the past year was bringing our billing and customer service functions in-house from a third-party vendor. So I briefed council several months ago about our vendor going out of business and bringing those services in-house. We think that in the long run, that's going to be a benefit, both from a cost savings perspective, but also it's going to give us more control over our own customer service functions, and we can make more autonomous decisions on how we provide customer service to our customers. And then lastly, and I think this is a big one, is we revamped our customer assistance program over the past few months. Previously, the program was just for low-income customers, and we've been able to expand that program significantly. We were also able to expand the benefit of that program. So previously, it was limited to $250 annually in assistance. We were able to expand that to $700 in assistance on an annual basis for a water and wastewater customer. Additionally, like I said, the additional categories where customers can qualify for the benefit is furloughed workers, medical hardship, disabled veterans, and also deployed military members. And a special thank you to Councilwoman Gussie for her assistance in on some of the veteran programs that she advised on. So those are just a few highlights of some of the efforts we've made over the past few years and since our last rate case. Certainly there's more we could highlight, but those are some of the top ones. In addition to the highlights on the operational and customer service front, we've continued to invest heavily in the city of Maricopa since our last rate case, and a healthy, financially healthy and sound utility partner certainly benefits the city and also our customers. We've seen examples in Pinal County where the utility partner has not been as helpful. And so, we continue to remain focused. We've invested over $60 million into the city of Maricopa since our last rate case. And that ensures our utilities are safe and compliant and positioned for the rapid growth that is occurring in Maricopa and ensuring that growth is sustainable. An example of a project that we've done recently beyond just expanding capacity is, you can see the picture there on the left-hand side. We installed high-strength liners in some of our 16-inch water mains that have been historically susceptible to main failures, and that will prevent and help reduce main failures in the future along some of those vulnerable areas. And as a reminder, some of that infrastructure was inherited from a previous utility that Global Water acquired in the city of Maricopa. So we're still trying to rectify some of those historical challenges. In addition to the investments that we've made, Global Water listed on the NASDAQ in 2016, and that's allowed us to gain access to equity capital. And through that equity capital, we've been able to raise $37 million approximately that we can reinvest back into our utilities. Additionally, by listing on the NASDAQ, that's allowed us to trigger provisions in our debt that allowed us to then refinance our debt from 6.5% to 4.5%, reducing our annual interest expense by over $2 million again, that expense reduction will be to the benefit of our customers. So in addition to many of the efforts that we've been making in Maricopa, we've also been focused throughout Pinal County and bringing our expertise to other areas of Pinal County because we think that we can help there and help resolve some of the water challenges throughout Pinal County. Mayor Price, as you like to say, a rising tide lifts all boats. And we subscribe to that saying as well and believe that we can help out elsewhere and the benefits that we provide in other areas of Pinal County will ultimately be of benefit to the city of Maricopa. Global Water has been very focused since our inception on the fact that there will be high growth in Pinal County and water scarcity. And with that in mind, we were able to go out and obtain a designation of assured water supply a number of years ago. And that assured water supply allows us to pump up to 23,000 acre feet on an annual basis in and around the Maricopa area. Currently, we're only using about 7,000 acre feet of that designation. So that allows us to triple our water usage within that designation without having to go and seek additional water supplies in and around the Maricopa area. So that allows growth to occur unencumbered due to water constraints. Additionally, we've continued to work collaboratively with development partners, other entities in Maricopa and outside of Maricopa to, again, bring our expertise and try to solve challenging problems in the water arena. One example of that is our efforts through Pinal Partnership to go out and obtain a basin study for the water basins within Pinal County and to try to identify solutions to water scarcity issues within Pinal County as well. We've also acquired several small utilities that have been troubled systems and bring our expertise to ensure that those systems are operated correctly and bring our water expertise and ensure that they also have safe and reliable water. And then lastly, we've signed agreements to bring utility solutions to the Inland Port, Arizona, which is in Coolidge, Arizona. Obviously, this has the potential to be a large employment center and economic center. And while it's not in Maricopa specifically, the economic and employment benefits will certainly be recognized in Maricopa as well. And so we feel our efforts there will ultimately prove to provide benefits to the city of Maricopa as well. So those, again, are just some highlights of our efforts throughout Pinal County, throughout Maricopa over the past few years. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Joanne, and she's going to get into some of the specifics of the rate case filing. Thank you.
Great. So considering our last rate case and the investment and the improvements that we've made over the last several years, how is the company currently performing? And that's what these two charts show. So in our last rate case, which again was based on a 2011 test year, the Commission determined that it was reasonable for the company to earn a 7.5% return on rate base. And that's the red line that you see represented on these graphs. Yet in reality, over the past 5 years, we have averaged only 5% in our Santa Cruz water utility in Maricopa and 4.6% in Palo Verde, which is the wastewater provider. Why is that? Well, there could be many reasons for that, but first of all, again, because we look back to 2011 to set the rates moving forward, the world doesn't stay static from then until now. So prices increase, we continue to make investments for quality, reliable service, improving our customer service, and maintaining our focus on compliance and safety, all of the things you heard John talk about. And the fact that you're looking back to set rates moving forward creates what may be referred to as regulatory lag. That simply means that the information on which the current rates were set is always lagging behind what's happening today. It happens to virtually all utilities, and the utility must actively manage itself to meet those challenges. Another reason for this is that because we agreed to phase in our rates in the last case over an 8-year period as part of the consensus reached with all parties, those rates were delayed in their phase in, and that can be causing some of the lag. But why is it important? Well, if the red line represents what the Corporation Commission said we were authorized to achieve, and if the blue line represents where we're at currently, that indicates that the utilities, in order to recover their costs and earn what the Commission has said is reasonable, need to adjust their rates. So in considering the rate case, as Ron mentioned, we made some key assumptions and measures to reduce the bill impact to customers. And most importantly, the rate case that we are filing has an impact to customers that will be less than the rate of inflation since our last test year of 2011. Our approach, as a result of our experience in the last rate case and the relationships we've built, is that we want to reach consensus, we want to be transparent, and so we made some specific decisions to be reasonable in our approach. Those reasons are outlined here. I'm not going to go into them in detail because they're covered on the following slide, but I would just note it's important that we want to maintain the key terms of the prior settlement agreement. Next slide. Great. So the first decision that we made to try to lessen the impact to customers was that for the third time, we are voluntarily leaving out the Southwest plant. So what is the Southwest plant and why is it important? Well, I think all of you know and perhaps lived through the mid-2000s when Maricopa was growing at a tremendous rate. And it was anticipated at that time that the area south of the Auction Indian Community near Papago Road would be the next area to develop. Global Water agreed to provide service in the area, and the Corporation Commission approved us providing service, but also it required us to build the Southwest Wastewater Treatment Plant and a water campus to serve that area. That was a total investment of $32.8 million. Unfortunately, development did not occur as anticipated, and we have never included the water and wastewater assets for Southwest Plant in our calculation of invested capital. Again, with this rate case, we are not asking to have Southwest Plant included. Even though we've incurred $29 million in interest carrying costs, we've lost out on $56 million in earnings, and we've lost over $72 million of cash flow. What we will be asking for, instead of including the Southwest Plant in rate base, is called an allowance for funds used during construction. And so this adds the cost of approximately $1.5 million to rate base each year for future recovery. So these steps are not going to impact rates today, but it does set a strategy for dealing with the Southwest Plant, which we've been carrying for a long time, in the future. The other piece is that we have also asked to include 4 years of historic interest expense into rate base, again, for future recovery. It does not impact rates today, but it sets a way in the future that we can begin to get some recovery. And we do continue to get interest on the Southwest Plant area, and I think we expect that in the next few years, and probably the city expects too, that this area will open up and we will see the development happening. So on the next slide, some of the improvements that we've made were done in and completed and put in service in 2020. For the company as a whole, we are asking for approximately $5.9 million of post-test year plants to be included in rate base. Not all of that 5.9 will impact Maricopa rates. Some of those improvements were made in other utilities, but I would say that the majority of that $5.9 million was built to provide improvements needed in the city of Maricopa. They are in service and benefiting customers today. And I'd like to just highlight real briefly one of the projects you see listed here, which is the Groves Recycled Water Management Facility. Many of you may recall that when we were beginning in Maricopa, The 387 district provided water and wastewater utility service to a portion of the city of Maricopa. Ultimately, they were not capable of providing that service. Global Water acquired their infrastructure assets and consolidated the 387 district with our other Global Water utilities. This Groves plant was originally intended to be a wastewater treatment plant for the 387 district. It sat unused for many years, but what we've done with it now is we've turned it into this recycled water management facility that has storage, boosting capacity, and ultimately in the future, we also want to build a recharge facility on this site so that we'll be able to take excess recycled water and recharge it directly to the aquifers there in Maricopa. So on the next slide, again, in the interest of transparency, we wanted to talk about the fact that we are proposing rate consolidation between the utilities in Maricopa and the utilities in the community of Red Rock. So with regard to consolidation, the end result of consolidation of those two utilities, so everyone understands, is that the rates for Maricopa customers and the rates for Red Rock customers would be the same after the rate case is concluded. As we consider these issues, we do believe that rate consolidation is beneficial for all. So we try to take a reasonable and logical approach to rate consolidation. In this case, we have two utilities that are located in the same regional geographic area of Pinal County. It can also make sense to consolidate utilities that have shared interests in terms of operating in the same watersheds, subbasins, or regulated areas. In this case, both utilities work within the Pinal AMA Assured Water Supply. And by pooling the resources of the two separate utilities or multiple separate utilities, those pooled resources can work together to overcome challenges. So a troubled utility may stand in the way of economic development. And again, the example of that is the 387 Water District. That was consolidated with our other utilities to the benefit of economic development in Maricopa and the development of the city as a whole. Pooled resources can also address issues such as water scarcity and water quality. And I think all of you are familiar with the issues with regard to the Pinal AMA Assured Water Supply Program and how hard we're working to try to fix some of those problems. But the economies of scale that result from consolidation can also help reduce future financial impacts and risks. So by combining companies, overhead costs are streamlined and they're allocated across a larger customer base, resulting in more standardized rates with less volatility. Additionally, with a larger capital base, there's a larger customer base, there's a larger base to absorb the cost of capital investment. And I think that relates directly back to the Southwest plant, which we were talking about. So in the future, when it does come into the rate base, it will be to the benefit of all customers to have that spread across as large a customer base as possible. And ultimately, we believe that all stakeholders will benefit, again, following the thinking that a rising tide lifts all boats. If you want a comparison example of what it looks like to have consolidated rates, I think a good example of that is the electric utilities and specifically SRP. So SRP has a consolidated rate structure that applies to all of its customers in Arizona. Again, consolidation can help you achieve better service with lower, less variable costs, the improved ability to support the cleanup of troubled utilities and assist economic development, and to solve regional challenges like the issues with the Pinal AMA Assured Water Supply. So summarizing the key assumptions and measures we made to reduce the impact to customers. In the big picture, what does that translate into in terms of dollar and cents? So excluding the Southwest plant, eliminates an increase of 5.8% or $7.77 per month per customer. That's something we have voluntarily taken off the table when we made the decision not to try to include Southwest Plant. Of that $7.77 per month, if we ask for just the interest carrying cost, that alone by itself would have added 2.1% or $2.81 per month per customer. Again, we've taken that off the table. We're proposing consolidation to create economies of scale and a larger customer base across which costs are spread. We're foregoing certain expenses. Specifically, while we're asking for some post-test year plant, we left other pieces of post-test year plant out. We removed certain expenses related to incentive compensation. So the compensation that we pay to our employees for their performance, a portion of that, not in the rate case. We are, again, phasing in the rates under the Memorandum of Understanding with the city. We're maintaining our existing rate design, including the conservation rebate and the current conservation threshold of 6,000 gallons per month. So for a customer who uses less than 6,000 gallons, that number is not changing. They will continue to receive a conservation rebate. We're proposing a small increase to recycled water rates of approximately 20 cents per 1,000 gallons, and we've agreed to delay the implementation of any rate changes until at least January 1, 2022. So, setting aside the Southwest Plant and the savings associated with that decision, the combined financial benefits of agreeing to the phase-in and excluding certain other expenses and investments eliminates $5 million of costs to the ratepayers over the first 3 years, or $1.7 million per year on average. And again, learning from the last rate case, we wanted to come with a reasonable approach. We wanted to give you a little bit of our thinking as to what we decided not to include. We want to find a common ground between the need to earn closer to our authorized rate while also being mindful of the impact these rates will have to customers. And given the good faith effort to balance all of the interests involved and taking the measures above, we are hopeful that the City Council can be supportive of our filing. So the next slide really gives us the bottom line. It's the impact to customers. And the impact to customers, again, is less than inflation since our last rate case. If the Corporation Commission were to approve our rate filing as is, and again, everything's subject to debate, customer rates would be phased in over 3 years, and the estimated average monthly residential bill would increase each year as shown below. So on a combined basis for both the water and wastewater utilities, and considering Red Rock being consolidated with the Maricopa utilities, in 2022, it would be $5.51 per month to the average customer, a similar increase of $5.51 in 2023, and then a smaller increase in 2024 of $3.32. Again, in the interest of transparency, the impact of consolidating Red Rock Water and Red Rock Sewer with the City of Maricopa utilities for the average residential customer is $1.43 per month in total. But we do think the benefits of consolidation will be apparent to the customers of Maricopa over time, being consolidated and forming the larger streamlined economy of scale utilities. It is important to note that the total revenue increase is approximately 12.2% and 13% for the average user. That's less than the 13.4% rate of inflation since our last rate case, as measured by the Consumer Price Index. So with that, I'll be happy to turn it back to Ron, and we'll be available for questions later.
Yeah, thank you, Joanne. Thank you, John, I notice here we've taken up all the time we have scheduled. I know we had a late start, and I know you're moving into a council meeting, so I want to be respectful of whatever process you want to take, Mayor and Council, for the Q&A piece. So I won't go over this last slide. I think John and Joanne covered it all and made the points well. You could just sum it up, and our view is for less than inflation, and for rates that don't take effect until 2022, you have all the improvements that we walked you through. And so with that, we're happy to circle back and spend time on any of the information that we provided here this evening, or you know how to get a hold of us. We can come back to other council meetings. This really just begins, and I'll go ahead and go to this slide. This really just is the start of a community outreach and customer education campaign. Throughout the lengthy one-year process, we will be having city meetings. We'll be having, we have a dedicated website. That's what this page is about, and a landing page on our website where customers can go to even starting tomorrow to get more information on this presentation and also other FAQs. And then lots of more information will be developed and sent out to customers throughout the lengthy process. So with that, thank you. We appreciate and respect your time, and we're available for questions.
Thank you, Ron and Joanne and John, for all that information. Certainly we did get about a 10-minute late start. I want to make sure that council has some opportunity to ask you a few questions, and then we may most likely have you come back if there's additional questions that need to be answered, or additional updates as things progress. Then we'd love to have you back. So council, do you have questions at this time for Global Water? Yes, Councilmember Brown. I think the microphones are back up, so if you'd like to try and use your standard microphone, you can go for it.
John? Can you hear me, John?
Yes, sir.
You had mentioned special considerations for low-income residents. What determines with Global Water low income?
So the previous threshold was 200% of the I guess it's the poverty level. That's actually been increased to 300% of poverty level. So that's what the current threshold is to qualify for low income.
All right, and that's $700 relief that you give them?
That's correct. That's correct. It's not. We wouldn't apply a credit to their account, but if they are behind on a payment or need assistance with a current payment, they can come in for assistance. And then if they have similar challenges later in the year, we can continue to provide that assistance up to $700 on an annual basis. And that's assuming they're a water and wastewater customer.
All right, thank you.
And Councilmember? Yes, Vice Mayor.
Hello, Ron and John and Joanne. Nice to see you. I think first off, I do want to say how much I appreciate what Global Water has done. I really appreciate the increase in assistance up to 700. I think you said 750. I think that does help many of those that find themselves, especially during this year, in a furlough situation or whatever the case may be. So definitely appreciate that. I do appreciate the customer attention. Christian and I were looking at the chart in terms of the decline of complaints. And based on the experience that I've had with for some reason, I've become the person that everybody sends an email to when they have a problem. And I happily take that on and I pass it over to John Corwin, and he happily takes care of it. And so I actually do have an appreciation for the decline in those numbers, because over the years, the number of people that have emailed me has decreased. And so I do believe that that's working well, and I think that you guys are doing a lot to make sure that the customer is taken care of, so I appreciate that. And I appreciate the city partnerships that Global Water has made with the city as well. The two questions that I have out of your presentation is, the first one is, in the interest of economic development and knowing what the hookup costs are for new development that comes to the city of Maricopa, will your rate case look at any creative ways of reducing the hookup cost to incentivize development within our city? Because I think if we were able to incentivize development and bringing new entities to the city of Maricopa, that would be a benefit to our customers as well. So I'll stop there on question 1, and then I'll bring up question 2 later.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman Smith. I'll go ahead and start with the response to that question. So in this rate case, we are not looking to adjust our hookup fee tariff, either up or down. So there is an existing hookup fee tariff, which ultimately does prescribe, obviously in other cities, it's similar to an impact fee, does prescribe the contribution that developers need to make towards the infrastructure necessary to serve their property. So it's not being addressed in this rate case. But in addition to our hookup fee tariff, we do have also development agreements out there that prescribe some of the other contractual arrangements that we have with properties when they want service from us, and what those additional contributions will be. So it's really a combination of those things. But we are not addressing that right now. What I would say to then the question is really two things. Is one, our hookup fee tariff, if you compare it against, and this is information we can provide to the city, if you compare it against the water and wastewater impact fees for virtually every other municipality, certainly the ones throughout Pinal County, but really throughout Metro Phoenix, our hookup fee compares quite favorably, and it's lower. Is the direct way to say that. It's quite a bit lower, and the reason that is Global Water does look to finance a portion of that infrastructure necessary through our own capital. I mean, that's the business we're in as a private utility, as Joanne walked through the rates, is to ultimately get a return on our invested capital. The rest is all one-for-one wash on debt service and expenses and things like that. So in order to entice economic development, as you say, we have worked hard to ensure that our hookup fee is not only competitive but better. The next thing I'd say is why we're open in the future to maybe have more preliminary and proactive discussions with the council about how those things can be done. It's obviously a little bit difficult based on the way we're regulated by the Corporation Commission, where we don't have as much flexibility on that as you would have just to make those decisions as a council off the cuff. But however, we are open to having those conversations. But the one exact, way that we've done that in the past, which the opportunity still exists today, is when we re-signed our MOU with the city of Maricopa previously, right before the last rate case, we agreed to not charge the hookup fee costs to all of the property that the city of Maricopa had acquired through the Great Recession. You guys have obviously done a great job in managing your city and investing in yourselves, knowing what's coming. And so when you think about the city hall property, the regional park and multi-gin facility, Estrella Gin property, those were all things that the city owned, and we agreed to not charge the hookup fee there. So those properties continue to benefit from that agreement. And again, potentially maybe there's something we could do on that and other properties in the future.
Yeah, that's a very valid point. I appreciate that. And I look forward to further conversations, because you guys have been very good in regards to having those conversations. And I look forward to what we can do in the future together. The second question revolves around Red Rock, and I can't say from the presentation that I understand it all entirely. I think the hardest thing to understand and grasp is how incorporating another area raises the rate for Maricopa and how that benefits us and when it pays off. I think a lot more information needs to be understood there. I don't know if you have anything you can add tonight, but that was the hardest piece for me to take and understand.
Sure. Joanne, I'll let you take another quick swing on that, but then Councilwoman and rest of the council, we can certainly follow up with you and continue to provide much more support on that topic. we understand your question. So, Joanne, over to you.
Yes, thanks, Ron. Thank you, council member. And I understand it's a new concept, and we really appreciate the opportunity to follow up and explain it in more detail. But starting at a high level, it seems fundamentally that combining two companies creates those economies of scale and those streamlined costs. And keeping in mind that those two utilities often share the same, management folks and even operators and equipment and those kind of things, there are shared resources across those two utilities. The utilities are on two different sets of rates right now. And so when you consider the cost of facilities that have been constructed in the Red Rock utilities and the cost of facilities in Maricopa, you combine everything together. There is a bit of a rate increase in this case, specifically for Maricopa customers and for Red Rock customers, that is associated, if you will, with combining the two companies and moving to a rate structure where they both have the same rates. In terms of payoff in the future, I really think there are two examples for that. One, we've talked about the 387 district and its combination with the other global water utilities. Clearly, that was a consolidation that was very much region, a close geographical area. It made sense for a whole lot of reasons. It put the whole city of Maricopa on the same rates. This time, we're just taking it the next step to a regional consolidation, and where that will pay off is in terms of specifically the Southwest plant. When Southwest plant is added into rate base, which we believe will happen, in the next rate case, if you will, then there will be additional customers across which Southwest plant and other improvements made for the benefit of Maricopa can be spread. So, Ron, anything you'd like to add to that?
I think that attempts to hit the nail on the head. Is it just so happens based on timing right now that the shift of making the rates uniform based on how much we've invested in the city, our cost structure in the city, versus what we've done in Red Rock, happens to shift a little bit more of the increase to the Maricopa customers, and that's why we wanted just to put that up front and on the slide. But in the future, because after we acquired that utility, and I will make it clear, no costs related to the acquisition are included in rates. It's simply capital improvements after acquisition, and I think that's an important point to make. We when we buy a troubled utility, we fix it. We bring it up to the standards that we're comfortable with in our professional umbrella, and so it took a little bit of higher investment into Red Rock after we acquired them to get to that standard. But in the future, we do think that because of the Southwest plant and the other capital requirements in Maricopa, that'll probably shift back. And the goal is ultimately, it's not just about Red Rock. The more, if we think about it more broadly, and I'll ask you to think about it this way, obviously, again, a long-term relationship here, we're improving it continuously, is the more customers that we do have in Pinal County, like when that Southwest plant does go, that's actually south of the city today. Maybe it'll be incorporated someday. But we do have other areas in the county where we will also have probably new utilities that start. And just long-term, broadly speaking, such as the example Joanne gave on SRP, and there's lots of others we can point you to, it actually it smooths out any rate increase at any time over a larger customer base, and that works to ultimately the benefit of everybody. And so I know Councilwoman Smith, and we're open to share it with all of the council members and city management and whoever. We can even post it publicly. There's a white paper that's been written that is incredibly detailed on the benefits of rate consolidation. And if you're interested in getting into those types of details, we're happy to provide you that white paper, how it's getting applied through not just the water industry, but clearly others, and show you practically how we think that works in Pinal County to the benefit of the city of Maricopa long term.
Yeah, I know we've been having these types of discussions for me, at least 6 years, and I definitely appreciate them. One thing that I first started talking to you about, Ron, was the fact that with growth base, we should at some point see economy, and I would hope that by adding Red Rock and additional communities, you would end up seeing economy and see that in the rates. And so I think I know in a point of time, I would like to I have a ton more questions, and it's just not enough time to talk about it. So we can take it offline and talk about it again, or bring it back to City Council, whatever the case might be. I think it's going to be a point of questioning for a lot of people.
Absolutely, and I will tell you, it's not just, again, some of these things are not global specific. We're believers in it, and we hope to get you in the council there as well, because ultimately we do think it's right and best for everybody. But this is really one of the biggest issues across the water industry. It's happening everywhere, and I will tell you, without saying names, there's been some that have attempted to consolidate rates statewide, and you can imagine the challenges that go along with that. So we're not proposing. We're not really a company that today believes in consolidation statewide, because the issues and concerns that are obviously popping up in your head are even more pronounced in that scenario. There's also benefits, so I'm not faulting the utility that attempted to do that. There, in their view, there are benefits, and there are. I'm just saying the challenges are greater when you go that big. But we think for sure in Pinal County, based on what we're trying to do there as an organization, and all of the partnerships we have there, not only just the city of Maricopa, but others, that it is demonstrably a benefit for all long term. So anyway, look forward to spending more time with you and others on that topic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Vitiello.
I want to thank you guys for with that presentation, and Vice Mayor Smith, I happen to feel the same way about this. Guess I would call it a rate increase. My understanding is that it's approximately a $13 per month over the next 3 years. So up to 13, in 3 years, it'll be up to $13 a month. Is that correct?
Starting in 2022, 2023, and 2024, you get to the additional $13 per month. So basically over the next 4 years. Okay.
So our constituents here in the city of Maricopa are going to look at this and hear the word consolidation. And when I think of a consolidation, I think about saving money. I don't see a raise in rates. And most people are going to sit here and say, well, wait a minute, we consolidated with a smaller city or town, and our rates went up $13 over the next up to $13 over the next 3 years. So most of our constituents won't see this as a consolidation. They're just going to see it as us absorbing their rates due to the fact that they're a smaller city and have less population. How do I explain that to my constituents?
Well, I think what may be appropriate, Councilman, is we need to do more work on educating the council than we probably have time for here today. Because I hear your concern, your shared concern with Councilwoman Smith, and I assume all the council members probably share that concern. And so, instead of attempting to answer that again, maybe it's better to just say our commitment is to take that item and circle back with you and do a better job on explaining why we think it has real merit and benefits long term for the city of Maricopa as well as our other customers. Would that be okay, Councilman?
Yeah. Again, I do appreciate everything that Global Water has done for the city of Maricopa. And our constituents come to us, and anytime there's a rate increase, and again, like I said, it's just going to be, at this particular moment, anybody watching may say, why would I want to pay $13 more for another city? So it's just going to be a little difficult, and it's going to have to be a lot of communication. And I'm willing to put it in, and everybody up on this council is willing to put it in too. But I just think that it's going to be a little bit of an uphill battle, So it's really going to have to be broken out well. So,
Yeah. If I can just make sure we're saying the same things, because I think maybe your comment was a little bit different. We will reserve to come back on the idea of consolidation, but specific to the impact in this rate case, the $13 would be the overall rate case for water and wastewater over the 4 years we talked about. But that's not all attributed to the consolidation. The element or portion of the increase that applies to consolidation is $1.50 of it. So basically, less than 10% of it is related to the consolidation item. I hope that is helpful to clarify that point.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Council, other questions or concerns at this time? Go ahead, Councilman Wade.
I wish I got my question in first, actually. So I just wanted to make sure. Oh, and by the way, thank you very much, folks. It was a great presentation. I appreciate it. And it's good to see you all well. I just wanted to make sure, and my council members are right that constituents look at what's increasing as opposed to what's decreasing. But I'm hopeful that when we start doing the marketing and start talking about the rate increase, that you will also include a lot of the things that you do that people don't know about for the community and not be shy about that. You do stand as a beacon, as a good corporate citizen, and I'm hopeful that you will be able to get that information out there to the public so that they will know that this is it's a business decision that you didn't necessarily come to the table to bring, but it came about, and so therefore you are managing it the best way that you can. But I'm hopeful that you'll take the opportunity to kind of sing your own song for a while.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that, Councilman Wade, and we definitely remain committed to the community. More so, I think we all are during this challenging times, and it's just unfortunate timing on this front. But we hear you and thank you. And I will say, I didn't get to it. There's an appendix to this presentation, which will be available on our website, which does walk through some of the things that I think you were referring to there, Councilman. So thank you.
Thank you all. I'm sure there's more questions and more concerns. Rick?
Just a quick comment, and I don't want to speak for Global Water by any means, but when I researched the acquisition of Red Rock, it includes areas in Pinal County and also in Pima County near Tucson. And I think the piece that was missing in the conversation is that these are highly potential growth rate cities, areas. So they have, in some cases, the potential to grow exponentially faster than we do to create a larger customer base quicker, which would then level out those costs. Not only level them out, but perhaps bring some reduced benefit to us too. And then to clarify, as Ron just did, of the eventual $13 plus, only $148 is the actual cost for Red Rock. And then we'll let them come back with more information as they go forward.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
City Manager Horst, I appreciate that additional information because I think that does help. And I think it really is just understanding the big picture and the timing and how that element in Red Rock and others are going to grow faster than us and therefore help to create the efficiencies we're all looking for. I really think it's a great ad that you gave, and I really would like to see an overall picture of it so that we understand it, because we're going to get asked by the constituents to explain it as well.
Yeah, we need a lay person's answer.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you think about it, it's not a lot different than a city annexing additional lands. We do that for one reason only, and that's to spread out cost of infrastructure at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's, I always value your view, City Manager Horst, because you always put it in such great terms. And I that made me think, and then I know we can move on to get something, but it made me think of just the more precise way to say that is, you're right. So Red Rock is on the Sun Corridor. It's right on the 10, and it's got service area down by Tucson, right in an area that's exploding in Tucson. So it's, as an example, because I find that examples are always kind of the best way to do it, is potentially Red Rock could have 3, 4, 5,000 connections years down the road when we process our next rate case, And if we're bringing that Southwest plant in, then finally, like we talked about in this, then that could spread over 5,000 more customers. That's the simplest way to think about it. And that will help the ratepayers in Maricopa by having 5,000 more customers to share those costs as they move in. And ultimately, Councilwoman Smith, that's right. I mean, if we grow enough in all areas and we continue we did our best for coming in under inflation. I think that is actually pretty remarkable for the level of improvements that we made. To Councilman Wade, I'm going to pat my back a little bit on that, but you know, it would, if growth is enough and we manage our investments to a certain level and we manage our expense growth, and you know, we still achieve everything that we need to achieve for the community, and we've consolidated rates across the county, and there's even other customers beyond Red Rock that are ultimately get included, then it's likely that the rate increases get lower and lower each time. That's it's the best I can put it tonight, taking all the feedback and trying to respond, but we will still take the action to go away and even provide a better practical answer to that concern. Thank you.
Okay, Council, we are about 27 minutes into the next council meeting, so we probably need to wrap this up, but I think it is a good thing to probably have you come back and answer some additional questions and, you know, present some additional answers. I'll just finalize it with, you know, Ron, I think a question that, you know, the average person may be thinking, and you kind of addressed it at the beginning, but again, you can address it later, but, you know, if the company, again, was supposed to get a certain amount and didn't quite get that, and that's okay, you know, why is there a need for this financially stable company in order to, you know, to go back to the Corporation Commission? And you said earlier that, you know, of course, this was, you know, not a desire, but rather mandated by the Corporation Commission. And I just wanted to echo that I can't tell the council and the public enough how much time myself and other council members and Ron have spent with the Corporation Commission members as they sit now. Of course, there's an election coming up, but as the Corporation Commission members sit now, we have spent an inordinate amount of time trying to get them not to force this rate case to happen. We have invited them down here. We have toured them around. We have told them Maricopa's story. We have talked backwards and forwards about how Maricopa doesn't want a rate case. We talked about the MOU and all the things that we have agreed to a stay out. But, you know, as Ron, I know, will go on and tell you that there are other water companies afoot that you all have heard about in the news, and that puts a bad light on the Corporation Commission to regulate all of these larger utilities and, you know, try and make sure that they don't get caught with their pants down or the surprises that sometimes happen when, you know, a company does one thing or says one thing and then, you know, does another. So again, I think we can talk about that later, but I just wanted to convey to everybody that we, and especially Global, so props to Global here, that we have done all in our power to stave off this case as long as humanly possible and try and keep the Corporation Commission out of it at all. But again, elected officials are elected officials, and they will do what they do. And in the end, they've made their decision, and here we are. So with that, we'll go ahead and thank you all for your time, and we'll come back again with additional time for explanation and questions and answer periods. And I know that the public will have more that will either convey to us, convey to you, you know, or we'll do it in the next meeting. So, okay. Thank you all very much for your time. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Sounds good. Us too. Thank you.
All right, we will go ahead and adjourn our work session. So, council, can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Motion, is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion carries. We'll stand recessed for 5 minutes, upon which time we will reconvene with our next regular city council meeting.